waves kept coming, and the water was rising higher and higher. It had been raining for days and days, and night after night. The creaking of the wooden rafters and floorboards of St. Mary's Orphanage was getting louder and louder. One of the sisters instructed 2 orphan boys to follow her outside and gather up as much clothesline as they could. When they returned to the temporary safety of their dormitory, after retrieving several feet of clothesline, the nuns tied as many orphans together as they could, then tied the orphans to themselves. The date was September 9th, 1900. 90 orphans and 10 nuns perished that day after being swept away by the cold ocean water. In total, Galveston, Texas lost an estimated 6,000 to 12,000 people in the Great Storm of 1900. There were so many bodies of the dead lying in the streets of Galveston that crews began gathering them up on carts and transferring them to barges, which were then towed out to sea and burned. Some of the barges didn't completely burn, however, and after some time, bodies would float ashore for weeks after the storm. Galveston Island was reduced to rubble after the hurricane, but 11 short years later, a beacon of light would emerge from the devastation, and Galveston would soon be a hub of entertainment, gambling, and high society. That beacon of light would be the Hotel Galvez. The Hotel Galvez opened her doors June 10, 1911 at 6 p.m. and would be known as the Queen of the Gulf and the playground of the Southwest. The cost to build the hotel was an enormous $1 million. That's equal to $24 million in today's money. Named after Bernardo de Galvez, the Spanish governor of Louisiana in 1777, he was an ally to the Americans during the Revolutionary War. The Hotel Galvez sits just yards from the beach, and when built, was the only building standing for miles after the Great Storm leveled Galveston Island. The reports of ghosts roaming the halls of the Hotel Galvez are many, and go as far back as 1914, just 3 years after the hotel was built. With so much tragedy on the island, and Hotel Galvez being built where so many people lost their lives, did the Galvez somehow act as a spiritual magnet and attract ghosts? On the 7th floor of the hotel, there has been several reports of a dark entity in the MacArthur meeting room. Named after General MacArthur, who once stayed at the hotel, the entity in the meeting room is said to be the ghost of a high-ranking member of the Mafia, who once called the 7th floor home. Pictures taken in the meeting room will either come out blurry or will capture floating orbs of light. Others have snapped pictures in the MacArthur room only to find dark, shadowy figures standing in the rear corner of the room. In the lobby, several witnesses claim to have seen a ghost of a little girl bouncing a red ball. In fact, sightings of many ghost children have been reported in the lobby. Both guests and staff that take pictures of the west wing of the hotel have captured full-body apparitions of a man dressed as a pirate. One particular picture of a bride on her wedding day shows the entity directly behind her. Women have claimed to have their buttocks pinched in the west wing ladies' room. As soon as they turn around, however, there will be nobody there. Also in the west wing of the hotel, both guests and staff alike have reported that a painting of Bernardo de Galvez himself is haunted. Pictures taken of the painting show a skull or a face. One particular ghost of the hotel, however, is perhaps the most well-known. They call her the Ghost Bride of Hotel Galvez. In the 1950s, 25-year-old Audra Sullivan was engaged to a sailor who was being shipped out from the port of Galveston. As soon as her groom returned, they would be married at the Hotel Galvez. Audra rented a room at the Galvez while she waited for her fiancé to return to port. The room she chose had the best view of Galveston Bay. Audra also chose room 501 because of the narrow ladder that led to 4 turrets on each corner of the red Spanish tiled roof. Whenever his ship was due into port, Audra would climb the ladder and wait in the turret above 501. While waiting for his ship, a storm blew in, and several ships that were scheduled to leave for port were turned back. Some of the sailors made their way to the Hotel Galvez to wait out the storm. Audra was told that the ship carrying her husband-to-be was lost at sea and that all hands on board had perished. After hearing the news of her lover's fate, however, she continued to climb the ladder to the turret and wait for his return. No sign of his ship ever appeared. After several days of waiting, Audra came to realize he would never return to her. She dressed herself in room 501 as if she was heading down the aisle, climbed the narrow ladder in the west turret, and hung herself. Audra's tragic story doesn't end there, however. A week after her death, the man she was waiting for sailed back into port. Room 501 has been referred to as the evil room because of depressing feelings and the heavy atmosphere inside the room. Electronic equipment and keycards often simply don't work. The hotel's maid service have reported seeing flashes of light emitting from the room. Electricians have been called to investigate the source of the light, but nothing could ever be found. Guests of the room have reported the doors to the closet shutting, as well as hearing a woman moan and scream. Multiple psychic mediums have entered room 501 on separate occasions. Both came away feeling dread and a sense of a dark entity. Both psychics also sensed that Audra did not commit suicide. Perhaps the souls of the dead from the tragic hurricane on Galveston Island gravitated towards the light of the Hotel Galvez, much like a sailor feels comforted at the sight of a lighthouse through the heavy fog. Does the hotel somehow act as a portal, allowing entities to cross over into our realm? Who knows? Like the other hotels in this video series, I've personally investigated the Hotel Galvez and room 501. I did experience paranormal activity firsthand. The Hotel Galvez is a beautiful historic hotel that was born out of tragedy. I'd highly recommend staying there the next time you find yourself in Galveston. The island of Galveston itself has many ghost stories to be told. If you like this content and would like to see more, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. See you next time.